Well, hello everyone. We are excited. Welcome back to the second half of season 7 and another exciting episode on issues and answers with yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall. You are listening to new WCEG Network, WCEG We're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into community. And this disclaimer I must give, the topics and opinions that you will hear on this show or if I have guests are not WCEG Network's opinion. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram at WCEG underscore talk underscore radio and WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support and make sure you tell a friend. Woo, so much has transpired since we last met in May. Let's see, where do I want to start? Okay. My dad, Deacon Levitt Stovall, had his 82nd birthday in June. We invited his family and friends to a video tribute to him. And of course, you all know he loved all of the attention. We hosted it at a new spot that was in Forest Park called Upscales and also Coming Out Hard. It's on Jonesboro Road in the Piggly Wiggly Plaza. One of the owners is Tavares Jackson. He also does studio recording, podcasts, comedy. He has a comedy show, karaoke, etc. So make sure you all check him out on the social media platforms. It's Upscales or Coming Out Hard with that. July. I was a keynote speaker for the Georgia PTA annual conference. And that is just so exciting to me because being a past PTA president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, membership chair, just about every position in PTA, I have held that position and come from a legacy of PTA officers. My dad was PTA president when I was in elementary school and high school, both my sisters. And then my older sister, Sharon, she was PTA president at the same elementary school where we all attended. And then I was PTA president and my sister Angela was PTA president. So I don't know if you call that legacy PTA officers, but yeah, so PTA is deep down, flowing down in the bloodstream. So we believe that, parents, teachers, and students have a voice. And the only way to make your school district and school system and individual schools better is when you have all of the components at the table, all the individuals at the table, being able to see what's best for children. Children are the centerpiece. And I think when we talk about the education system, if we had more individuals who were in the policy-making positions that really truly put children first, we would see so much better outcomes for our young people. Okay, so that PTA conference, the annual conference, so I was excited when I was contacted by Shonda Ross, who's now the PTA, Georgia PTA president. And it was held in Columbus, Georgia. So we got a chance to travel down. And of course, I had to take Sharon with me, my sister, PTA folks. And I hosted workshops as well while I was down there, along with me being a keynote speaker. And I was just doing what I love to do, which is educating the community on how to advocate to your elected officials and how to effectively communicate that to your elected officials. All right, so moving on. Then I'm involved in a project called Recount Georgia 2022. And if you want to go to the website, it's www.recountga2022. So recountga2022. And so this particular project is made up of us of dynamic Democrats and Republicans. Yes, it's bipartisan. And in this endeavor, we want to ensure every vote that was cast in Georgia is accounted for and that the purported results that we saw in the 2022 primary election align with the will of those who cast ballots. So in other words, those of you all who voted, we want to make sure that our vote, because I voted too, our votes were counted for the people that we actually voted for, not who some other folks want to be in the position, but really the votes didn't really go that way. Okay. So there were some shenanigans that was happening in the May primary election with the election results. There have been lawsuits that have been filed to rectify this problem before the November election, with one in particular asking the federal grand jury to intercede. And I have to, on another show, I'll bring someone in to really talk about the importance of the grand jury. I didn't realize, you hear about it on TV, grand jury brought back an indictment, this and that. But it's more powerful than you and I could probably ever think of. And the power that was given to them in the Constitution when it comes down to hearing from people, your own peers, and them deciding on your life, really your life in those situations. So the right to vote, as we know, is precious and sacred, and the most powerful nonviolent tool guaranteed by our state constitution is the right to vote. Irregularities undermine the confidence that citizens have in the results of the elections. It erodes the legitimacy of those elected and the government. Voting is the only way you can be sure your voice matters. The sensible thing to do is to make sure this election, which was the primary election, was accurately reflected with the hand recount, and to discontinue the use of the voting machines, which have proven to be prone to irregularities and inaccuracies. In my own election, you all know when I ran for Congressional District 5 representative, a couple of precincts that included my election, in DeKalb, for instance, there were ballots that did not record one of the candidates for DeKalb County Commissioners, her name. So these results had to be recounted by hand. And now I'm going to cite these different websites so you know I didn't just make this up and pull it out the air. From the 11 Alive website, and it says, according to DeKalb voter registration elections, after review, election officials realized vote totals were displayed incorrectly, making it seem as if candidate Michelle Spears received no votes in all but 4 precincts. Now I'm gonna repeat that. So what it's saying is that one of the candidates was showing in the votes that were tallied on election day in the primary that she had not received any elections in 4 precincts. The DeKalb election leader said this is an isolated issue and it likely happened after the candidate withdrew from the race. Okay, now with further investigation, then there was a message from the DeKalb voters registration and election website. DeKalb VRE reviewed the initial data generated from the Commission 2 contest and coordinated efforts with the Georgia Secretary of State's office. An initial review indicated it is an isolated issue that likely occurred after one candidate withdrew from the race. In June, the results were, and these were unofficial at that time, Lauren Anderson receives 4,737 votes, Marsha Orson, 3,928 votes, and Michelle Long Spears, remember you heard that name? I just said it was the one that was missing out of 4 precincts. She received 6,651 votes. Donald Browser was the one that officially withdrew from the contest. He received 133 votes. So what initially happened was when the elections were set up, the ballots were set up, they included all the candidates who had qualified in this particular DeKalb County Commission District 2 race. And so, but before the election, one of the candidates, who was Donald Browser, officially withdrew from the contest. So they were trying not to keep his name on the ballot and went into the system to withdraw, to remove his name and to correct something that happened on the Republican. They had, like, if you all voted, the Democrats, they had like questions they were asking you to answer. And on the Republican side, it was the same way. So they found there was an error in the wording on the Republican question. So they went in to fix that as well. Well, that's when everything went upside down and downside up. And so now I'm gonna they said there's a comparison still on from DeKalb County that said a comparison of results demonstrated that the vote totals displayed incorrectly, making it appear as if candidate Spears received 0 votes in multiple precincts. Well, that was not the case. Now, this is one of the reasons we have Recount Georgia 2022. And this is not just something that was happening in DeKalb, it was happening across the state. Some things you all heard about it and some things you did not. So from the Secretary of State's website, initially 4 candidates qualified to run for District 2 Commissioner. After the election project had been built and equipment had been prepared, 1 candidate withdrew, which is what I said earlier. On the first day of early voting, an issue was discovered on the BMDs. So just for you all who don't know, the BMDs are ballot marking devices, okay? That the text of one Republican Party question was not properly appearing. To remedy this issue, the Secretary of State Center for Election Systems updated the election project so that the text properly appeared. However, that update was built using the county maintained copy of the election project where the withdrawn candidate had been placed into a disabled status. In making that update, it caused a discrepancy on election day between the BMT, and I told you it's the ballot marking device, that's the screen that y'all use to vote, with the updated project showing 3 candidates, and the election day scanners in the other precincts in the county that were expecting 4 candidates in that race. So one scanner set was only showing 3. The other scanners in the other precincts were showing 4 candidates. Remember, one of them withdrew. The issue was quickly detected by the DeKalb County Elections and Registration after the election during their normal post-election processes. And the Secretary of State's office has worked with DeKalb to help resolve the issue. Okay, everybody's trying to cover up everything. The point is that should never have happened. And just think if Michelle Spears' campaign team had not noticed, and I believe it was her own precinct where her vote had not even been counted, her name, was showing that there was no vote for her in her own precinct. Just think she would have lost that race. So there's some stuff going on. Don't y'all be fooled. Like I said, go to recountga2022.com, sign our petition, and join our email list. Also on that website, you can be able to view several videos that we have been compiling, and we've been doing interviews about this whole election process. And it's not just here in Georgia, it's going on across the state, United States. And this is not Republican specific, not a Democrat specific. It's both parties, and something is going on. So make sure you go and watch those videos. You will see the interviews between the Democrats and Republicans talking about this particular issue. We have to be vigilant and keep our eyes open. Don't be easily fooled by what these officials are saying. You heard the DeKalb saying, oh, it was an isolated incident and we rectified it immediately. Then you heard the Secretary of State come back. Oh, once we saw it, we rectified it immediately. But only when you realize it because that candidate brought the issue up. So, I don't know if that should go in the say what section, but we're gonna move on, okay? So in August, y'all, we had the 5th annual Clayton County Back to School Block Party. It was held at Place of Hope Clinic in Lake City. And we partnered with Hand, Heart, and Soul Project, Little Ones Learning Center, Georgia Youth Career Center, the City of Lake City, Place of Hope Clinic, and Redeemed Church of God. We had a great turnout, you all. We had people in line. The line went all the way out to the streets, always almost up to Jonesboro Road. And we had families that wanted to come out and to be able to get back to school information. So we gave out book bags with materials in it. We had a lot of exhibitors there giving out good information. And I have to give a special shout out to Clayton County Water Department Authority. Woo, that water was so cool and good. I don't know if it was just because it was so hot out there, but it was good anyway. And they brought the big old gallons or tons of whatever that is, big old water tower. I call it a water tower. And we were able to get all the water we needed. So we didn't have anyone falling out from dehydration, even as hot as it was. We also were able to give out fresh fruits and vegetables courtesy of the Atlanta Community Food Bank. I mean, we just always have great partnerships every year. And I just want to thank everyone who came out. And if you want to be a sponsor for next year, we're looking for sponsors. Definitely get in contact with me at contact@gostovall.com. Okay, and also there was free food given out to the children who attended, and that was courtesy of You Serve 360 Seven Pillars Career Academy. So thank you, Ms. Gann and Ms. Daniel and that whole crew. And they even had the students out there because, you know, that school, they're required to do volunteer hours. So they were out there doing some volunteering. All right, the next event, and I just been busy since we have gotten off the air. And I was like, how am I going to get all this in 1 hour? But let's see how far we get. Okay, so we celebrated in August the 6th, 33 of our Georgia single parents at our annual Legacy Builders event in DeKalb County. We partnered with the National Leadership Group, Georgia Youth Career Center, and the Office of DeKalb County Commissioner Larry Johnson, who's been on board with us since we first started hosting this event. And we've been out, he's even come down to the Capitol and gave words as well. We had so many more sponsors. We appreciate all the sponsors. And again, if you would like to be a sponsor for the Georgia Single Parent Legacy of Builders Award, we're going to be kicking up next month, 2023, for new nominations. March the 21st, every year in the state of Georgia is Georgia Single Parent Day. It's also a national day that was recognized by, that's a proclamation that's already in place as well. But we wanted specifically for Georgia, and that's actually was my second bill that I was able to get passed and signed into law as a legislator when I was there. All right, so we had awardees that came from across the state. So this wasn't just a Metro Atlanta thing. It's called Georgia Single Parent Event. And we had some that come as far away as Albany, Augusta, Rome, and so many other areas. And like I said, the nomination is going to start next month for 2023. So be on the lookout. You'll hear me constantly making announcements while I'm on air here. All right, now let's get into that. I know you all been waiting to hear about corporal punishment in the schools. Let me tell you. So this is my second year being a substitute teacher. I am presently a long-term sub for 6th and 7th graders teaching in social studies, which is one of my favorite subjects. And I think they probably like, oh, she get too excited about social studies. Yes, especially those 3 branches of government. That was the first thing we talked about. But anyway, I must tell you, these scholars keep me on my toes every day. Somebody is challenging something I said to see if it's true or not. So I have to stay abreast. It almost reminds me of being down at the state capitol, except for all these are underage children. They're not adults. And but I started out wanting to only do 3 days a week, but due to the teacher shortage, and you all, this teacher shortage is really, really real. So if any of you all are retired teachers and you still have a love and passion for teaching our young people, yeah, I know they are a bit challenging, our young people. But if we don't teach them, who's going to do it? And if they become adults who are uneducated, we have a serious problem. I was just presenting the Making the Connection, Clayton County. What's the 411 Clayton County? And it's a series of workshops that I'll be co-presenting along with Sharon Daniel about how do you get involved with your government, local government, and how do you understand the ins and outs and how government works and how to make it best work for you. And one of the topics we talked about was the Child Wellbeing Index Score. So for those who might not know or haven't heard of it, go to United Way of Greater Atlanta, go to their website, or you can Google Child Wellbeing Index Score. This particular score is made up of things that are available, resources that are available and not available in the community. And it tells how likely a child growing up in a certain zip code is going to become a productive citizen in Georgia. This is real serious. Some areas you'll see that are red when you look at the map. They actually have a map that shows you all the metro area. And those areas in red are less than 50%. Some of them are at least a 30% chance that our young people, these children, are going to be productive citizens. And that's 30 out of 100. So for every 30 kids, only 30 of them are going to be productive citizens. 70% are not going to be productive. So we have a lot of work to do in our communities overall. And don't think it's just because in certain lower income communities, it's going to affect the entire economy of the state of Georgia. Because if we're the #1 state to do business, we have businesses being relocated here from other states and even internationally. But if our students can't do basic reading, math, being able to communicate properly, type an email, answer an email, then we're all in trouble, because we're not going to be #1 state to do business. We're going to be the last state to do business, because we don't have a productive workforce, or one that the companies will want to come and train. They're not going to be able to train because they can't read and write. And not so much as being able to physically write. Don't even talk about signing. Some of their signatures, I don't know where they came from. But those basic things that our children need, they don't have them. They're not getting them like they should. And that's where we as a community have to step in. But anyway, I talked about the child well-being index score. So, so if you are a teacher, former teacher, you're interested in it, they have all kind of openings for substitute teachers all across the state. I get phone calls about 3 times a day asking me when I'm coming in to do substitute teacher. They are in need. And what's happening, I just heard on the radio in Gwinnett County and some other counties as well, where when a teacher is absent, usually they have a substitute to come in for that class. But now they can't find enough substitute, so they're now having to split those classrooms up with other teachers who already have a overcapacity type of number of students. So you can just imagine that's a lot on teachers. And you know what? If I ever get back into being a legislator or policymaker, I guarantee you the top of my list is going to be increase in pay for teachers, our educators, starting at $50,000 and above. And those who work with our DES, or those students that are disability students, they need to get $30,000 on top of the $50,000. It's a lot that's going on in these schools and with these children. And a lot of it are the parents' faults. The parents are not getting involved like they're supposed to. They think the schools are a place where you drop the kids off and don't come back till after school is over with. You pick them up and you keep on going. No, that's not working. Yes, they can't be babysitters. The schools are not babysitters. Parents, you have to teach your children home training at home. Then when they come to school, they should not be getting smart with the teacher. Some are getting very, very disrespectful. They argue with you like you're an adult. And then when you have a conference with the parents, they treat the parents the same way. Now that's the same word. I was like, what? I told them they weren't gonna make me lose my freedom. But I'm telling you, some of these children, their disrespect level is very high. You tell them you're gonna call their parents, I give you the number. What? I never said I was gonna get nobody's number, and I had a little small mouth, but I definitely not gonna give them my parents' number, because I knew I was gonna have them soon. I got through that door. And if my mom and dad had to come to the school, oh Lord Jesus, you just start crying. As soon as you know they're getting ready to walk in the door. Not some of these kids, they say, I give you the number. You can call, and they'll walk with you to the office to call their parents. I'm telling you, woo. So we're talking about corporal punishment. I got my dad over here with me, y'all. This that laugh y'all hear in the background. So during homeroom, I used to have discussions on current events. And one of the current event topics, some of them we talked about, is corporal punishment, mental health crisis in students. A lot of these children are going, now we thought adults were going through mental health crisis because with the pandemic and even before, but our young people, oh my goodness, you all gonna have to Google mental health crisis in classrooms and read that article. It is serious. And what's happening is those children are bringing those mental health crisis issues to the school. And then now you're having teachers who are not counselors, who are not psychologists, who don't, that's not their area of expertise, but they're now having to fill in for those individuals, those young people that are coming in with so much on them. And you're like, how do they have so much they worrying about? They don't work anywhere. They don't pay in the bills. They don't have to worry about how they're going to feed. But in some cases, I guess some of them are having to take on adult roles. And that's not the children's role. Children should be children. Like my dad and mom used to always say, be a child while you're a child. But that's not what's going on and what's happening with our young people. One person said that their sister who's an educator asked, she called a parent and the parent asked her, why are you calling me? Do I call you when little Johnny act up at home? So these are the feedbacks that the teachers are getting. They call the parents, some of them don't answer the call. And when they answer, I'm at work. Okay, I'm at work too. So your child is disturbing me at work. So I even implemented, well, you have to sit with me at lunchtime. So, they don't like that because that's their free time. So I said, since you're disturbing my classroom during classroom period, I'm gonna disturb your lunch. So we're gonna sit at silent lunch. And everything you want to talk about during my class period, we can talk about it during lunch. So I have a whole little section. All the kids know if somebody's sitting at that table, they in trouble. And so I have some kids that had been over there about a couple of times. After that, I don't have any more problems with them. And I even tease and say, don't you have a lunch appointment with me? Oh, no, Miss Stovall. No, not me. They even helped me to go find the kids they were trying to hide from me in the lunchroom. And they'll see me walking. They said, Miss Stovall, who are you looking for? I give them the student name. They said, there they are over there. I go right on over there. I just point my finger. Direction this way. Meet me at the table. So, but all of these that I'm talking about is that mental health crisis that these children are really going through. They need a lot of love and affection. They need a lot of affirmations when they walk in the room, in the door, even before they leave to go home. We don't know what kind of environment these children are going into. So corporal punishment was one of the topics. And of course, we're having a huge amount of fights in our schools. Children just, somebody look at them wrong, they're angry. These children come to school just angry for no reason. Like one girl told me she got to argue with a student. I said, are you okay? No, I'm really not in a good mood. I said, well, did that start off in my class or before you got to my class? And she said, I just been upset all day. I said, well, you need to take a little time out, take a deep breather and stay away from people if you know that you're going to be upset. I said, because if it wasn't this student, it would have been somebody else. So it's a lot these children are going through. Anyway, there was an article about Missouri school district, state of Missouri. They adopted to opt in for corporal punishment policy. Now, for those who might not know what corporal punishment means, it means physical discipline. And it says that it is allowed in reasonable form and when all other alternative means of discipline has failed. It prompted a protest among high school students. And y'all imagine those high school students out there protesting about corporal punishment. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I had to ask the students in my class, those 6th and 7th graders. And I said, well, I told them, let them read the article. They took time reading the article. And I was asking them to interpret what it meant. I asked if they know what corporal punishment meant. They said no. As soon as I told them a spanking, oh my goodness, the whole room turned upside down with comments. Everybody had an opinion. And then I told them how when I was in school, that if we were disobedient or disrespectful to the teacher, that the teacher had a ruler, big ruler, wooden paddle ruler, and she would bend our hands back and pop, 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 would hit our hands. They said, oh no, Miss Stovall, our teacher hit me. Then we gonna go at it. I'm gonna fight that teacher back. Yeah, I'm doing the neck roller because that's what they were doing to me in the classroom. I said, really? They said, yeah, teacher don't have no right to put their hands on me. I said, but what about if you disrespecting and you acting up in their class? Still, they could call our parents, but they better not put their hands on me. Then I explained to them that another method of punishment was that the principal had this big old thick paddle and it had holes in it to make sure when he or she swings, that paddle, the air goes through it real fast and we had to bend over and they would whoop us on our, or spank us on our bottom. Oh, they started a whole nother feud. Oh, Mr. What? Oh, no, we'll be jumped on the press. Oh, they just went on and on. So, of course, I had to cut the conversation short. And that what I explained to them is that even though you don't agree with the law, it does not make the law void, that it does not exist. And if you break the law, then there's a special place for you that they have set up for people who break the law. I said, for you all, you'll be going to juvenile if you hear the teacher. I said, if the state law says that they can punish you, then, and they punish you, that's breaking the law. You're going to fight back against them. And then I told them, I said, let me tell you what states that this is legal in, corporal punishment. Now, y'all going to be surprised to hear this. Okay. Georgia. Yes, the state of Georgia is legal in Georgia. Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Idaho, Missouri, Indiana, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, and Arizona. Yes, you heard it right. All those states, it is legal for corporate punishment in the schools. Now, do they have, all of them have to opt in? Probably not, but I tell you, Missouri has been the one that was in the news about opting in because discipline in these classrooms and schools are outrageous. So many fights are going on that are dangerous. Let's think of your child it's a fight break out in front of your child. They're not involved, but people start throwing punches, and Lord knows we hope they don't bring in the weapons to school. Then that becomes very, very disruptive for that classroom, and your child becomes in danger. And me as a teacher become in danger. I'm gonna read the states one more time. Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Idaho, Missouri, Indiana, Wyoming, Colorado, Kansas, and Arizona. That's a lot. Those are a lot of states that have corporal punishment on their books, on their laws, that is legal. Now, the actuality or reality that many of the school districts will probably opt in or probably slim to none because of what I just described to you earlier about the children and the mental health state of these kids, not knowing they go home, start thinking about they want to come back and do something to the teacher or the principal, catch them in the parking lot, all kind of stuff. You just don't know what these kids are thinking. So, but like I told the children, there has to be a level of respect for adults in the classroom and for the other students. So if you are deciding that you're going to act out of turn and be disrespectful, there are rules. Like I tell them in my classroom, there are rules. They can't even get up out of their seat unless they're raising their hand. And some people may say, these are 6th and 7th graders. You treat them like elementary, but I tell them y'all are acting like elementary. I shouldn't have to have rules, but I have rules. And I tell them that they can't get up without raising their hand and acknowledge it, because I have to know why they're moving around in the classroom. And also they have to be respectful of each other. They also have to, we of course have the cleaning in the classroom. So they have the wipes, they have to make sure they're cleaning off their desks. I mean, I had to rearrange the classroom, the seats in the classroom to kind of make sure it's more open so I could be able to watch and see what they're doing. Some of these kids are real sneaky. I mean, some stuff that you all are here. I was like, what? We didn't do that when I was in school. So you're in a different time. And I also told the students that they have to watch whenever you hear a topic that's constantly being talked about in the news. I said, you best believe that there's going to be some legislation introduced when session comes back in January. This issue with fighting is getting enormous. It is almost to the point where the teachers can't even teach in the classroom or feel safe on the campus, or other students feeling safe on the campus because of all these fights that are breaking out. And so I told them, I said, it could be a legislation that may be introduced that also requires the parents to take responsibility for you as their child fighting in the school. Yeah, we know that they have responsibility now, but I'm saying more of enforcement. I said they could send your parents to jail because you are being disrespectful and acting out and harming other kids in the school. Oh my goodness, that start a whole nother conversation. Well, my mama had to go to work and my mama had to do this. I said, well, this is what I think you all should do. You should think about the responsibility that your parents have of them going to work. And that's why you need to behave yourself while you're in the classroom. Because if you act up, the law does not care about your parent having to go to work or wherever they have to go. You belong to them. They birthed you, and they're responsible for your activities and your behavior when you're at school. So we have a lot of dialogue with the young people. And actually, I'm gonna maybe not my next show, but after that, I'm gonna let you meet some of the students, of course, with their parents' permission, and let them talk to you. You all hear from them about some of the topics that we talk about. We talk about in the classroom, because I think it's important as our young people, allowing them to have a voice, but in a respectful manner. But a lot of times they don't get a chance to voice their opinion. And so as a result, they act out in violence towards one another and even to themselves. And so if you all see a student now, see a teacher, thank a teacher. I think we need to have thank a teacher day every day that school is in. Don't wait till just May. That's too long to wait. Thank a teacher. I'm so sorry. Well, I've always supported teachers and education, but I have a way new, wide opening understanding about the education system and where it's lacking. And so, even with that, I thank God that as a legislator, I always had the mind of making sure our education system was better and continue to get better. So I'm grateful for that. Now just have more information to add to that and being able to show people how to better advocate for a better quality of school system. And we also need so many volunteers. So if any of you all have time, even if it's an hour after school is over with, that you would like to spend to help out, contact me. I have a couple of schools that are looking for volunteers. You have a specialty thing that you specialize in and you need to share those gifts and talents. Don't let them go to waste. There's some kids, all of them are not bad, y'all. All of them, I won't say that. Not all of them are not disrespectful. And some of them that are disrespectful, having a conversation with them goes a long ways. I've had about 3 of them that started out being, oh my goodness, they ain't like to see me coming. And I would say, oh Lord, give me strength when I would see them coming. But we've now been able to talk it out, and I understand there are some issues that they're going through. And because of that, they don't know how to redirect it. And one of the things I tell the students all the time is you learn how to self-redirect. That's my word, self-redirect. I always tell them you have control over your actions, but you don't have control over anyone else's action or what they do to you, but you have control over how you react. And that's like it is in life with us. We have control over that. So I know we're getting almost down to the time, and yes, we've had a good conversation about this corporal punishment. And I'd like to hear from you all. Make sure you post on comments. For those who have been posted, continue to do that. Post on the social media platform. What are your thoughts on corporal punishment? Should it be allowed in schools? And if so, at what extent should it be allowed? Who should be allowed to deliver the corporal punishment? Now, I had one student, pretty smart student. He said, Ms. Stovall, what? He said, I think we should be able to sue the school if we end up being falsely accused of something and we get a spanking. I said, you know what? You brought up a good point. I said there is, there's always an appeal method because we live in America. And I said, so that would be something that you can appeal. So if you wrongfully accused or spanking, I said, you don't have to retaliate on the teacher. You just go and file an appeal about what happened to you. So being able to teach them, the proper way of handling disagreements that arise, is very good for them, and having them teaching them critical thinking skills. And so someone asked, do I believe that cameras should be in all classrooms? Of course, I believe that, because my first bill was House Bill 614, the Landon-Johnson Act, that allowed video cameras in the classrooms of special needs students who were self-contained. But the whole thing now with so much going on and the teachers' jobs are in jeopardy. If a student fight breaks out, you try to break it up, or and the student accidentally slugs you and you react because you're in the heat and you hear, oh, you got to be fired, you placed on leave. Well, nobody knows what happened. A lot of these kids have cameras, have phones in the classroom. They're busy recording the incidents that's going on, and they don't realize it's against the law. You can't record other minors without their permission, without their parents' permission. And so they're not thinking, they're just pulling their phone out and recording, or they're taking pictures. And so several students have had to be disciplined about that. But yeah, I do believe that cameras should be allowed in the classroom so you can be able to see what's going. That's a third eye. I look at it as a third eye, not so much as looking to see if the teacher's doing his or her job, but to me, it's a help and support for the teachers, because some students are good liars. I mean, they know how to fabricate some stuff, and some of their parents believe everything they say. And if they say, oh, the teacher lied on me, what that teacher doing lying on? They don't look at it as, let me go to the school or let me contact the teacher to find out what happened. No, they automatically believe the child. This one particular student, the one I told you that was very disrespectful. Oh, not one time, but 2 times. I even suggested her parents, I said, you need to take her phone and that expensive watch she has on. That girl looked at me and said, you can't tell my parents to take my watch away from me. I said, yes, I can, because you don't work, because you're here at the school all day. So I know you don't have a job. So those kind of things like that, yes, those cameras, because had the camera been in there, when she told her parents her version of the story, we could have played it back and said, this is exactly what happened. So yes, I do believe that those cameras should be, and it's also for safety reasons as well. So not just in the hallways, but also in the classroom. But of course, some people might differ, their opinion from me, and that's okay. They asked me, what do I believe? So that's what I believe. So, I surveyed my students about what they thought, of course, about the corporal punishment. And I tell you, like I said, I shared some of their thoughts, but you can just imagine the feedback that I received. And some of it was just fun. I had to laugh at some of it because just thinking about what they said about corporal punishment. But there has to be a level of respect that's given in the classroom, and there has to be a method where there are conditions that are in place that if students do not do what they're supposed to do, there has to be a level of punishment. Now I have a rewards program that I started with the students. Of course, they like that, even the ones who don't act like they're supposed to at all times, and they see that they don't get a reward, they try their best to self-redirect. But there has to be a level of consequences for those students, and also to their parents as well. And we know that sometimes some parents, some of the students really have some other issues beyond disciplinary actions by the parents. And in those cases, of course, we need the resources. That's where our nonprofits and other community groups come into place. That's where you can advocate for state funding and federal funding and even local funding to go towards those programs to be able to help our young people. Having extracurricular activities after schools are another thing that we would start talking about solutions. How do you decrease the amount of corporal punishment that be needed in the schools, or what else can be done to be able to offset it? But it has to be some kind of rules and consequences for not abiding by those rules. That's the only thing those children understand. All right, so like I said, I'd love to hear your feedback on corporal punishment. Also on the issue that's been going on with the primary elections. Now we have the November elections coming up in November, and early voting is getting ready to start. If you have not registered to vote or change your address, you need to go ahead and work on that this week to make sure this week and no later than next week, to make sure your address is updated. And you do know that if you end up voting out, not in a precinct where you live, that is against the state law. And some other people have gotten into some trouble with that, with voting. And some of them were elected officials that did not change their voter address and end up voting in another precinct. So make sure that you are paying attention and don't go by all the ads that you see on the TV. Go and research on your own these candidates. Don't try to go, I'm just voting all Democrats or I'm voting all Republicans. That might not be the best thing for you. You look at what the track record is of the people who've been in there. You haven't seen them, heard from them. You don't know anything that they are doing. Don't vote for them. It's easy. Sometimes you might get to the point where, ooh, it's the lesser of the two evils. Which one? But then you have to make your little checklist. What issues are important to you that you would like to see those elected officials, whether they have addressed it or not? Some have not addressed. There's a big issue now with in the gubernatorial race about Black male voters. Are they important? And some of the Black male voters I've talked to are saying they don't feel like the candidates are thinking about them or think that they are important. Even I saw some issues or platform that was sent out about Black male voters. It didn't say anything. It was too generic. That could have went for any minority voter. It didn't say anything specific for what was going to be taking place to help support Black male voters in Georgia. So those things you have to look at, and you decide from there. I'm not telling you who to vote for. That's your own personal opinion of what you do. Just like whoever I vote for is my business as well. But I can tell you, make sure you research and ask questions and see who shows up at these different forums. They don't take the time to show up at no forum. Why would you elect them or re-elect them? They're showing you then that they don't care about your time or you going, or they don't want to share their information, but they'll flood you with those text messages, those mailers, and phone calls. But then can answer you when you're in need. And like we have crisis going on in our communities. Where's your elected official? That's all you got to ask. Where's my elected official? All right. So as we get ready to round up, I today had the honor of being a conference speaker. This is my first national conference speaking opportunity. And it was with the National Association of Barbers, National, I knew I was going to mess it up. Hold on. I've been practicing all day. Okay, National Association of Barber Boards of America. So they had their 95th conference here in Atlanta in Clayton County. And they've been here just about all week. They've been here talking about the barber industry. And of course, that's not my area of expertise, but I sure appreciate my hairstylist, Champagne, for us always having a robust conversation anytime I'm going to get my personal services. And she's learned a lot about politics. I've learned a lot about the industry. And so being able to speak, I appreciate Attorney Roy Turner for recommending me to the Board Association to speak to them about lobbying their elected officials. So for those who might not know, the barber boards are appointed usually by the governor to a certain amount of year term. And they're the ones who set the policies and give out the licensing for barbers and cosmetologists across the state, in any particular state. This was a national convention, so they had individuals from about 51 states are represented up under this particular association. So I got a chance to meet people from South Carolina, Tennessee, Washington, D.C., and Florida, and some other states as well. And so I did a presentation, talked to them about what I love, which is how you connect with your elected officials and giving them some tips about how they can be able to do that. It's more specific to their industry. And so I was excited about being able to speak. And then afterwards, I hung out a little while just to talk to them about what they've seen some of the issues are and kind of give them a little advice on how I think best to handle it. Now, the key thing with that is that a lot of times each state has a different setup. Even though we're United States of America, each state has its own sovereign type of government. And so there was an issue they was talking about a compact, which is an agreement that's made between states to agree to do things similar and working together. So like I said, it was a very interesting conference. I learned a little bit. I sat in on a couple of one or two sessions, just listening, sitting there just listening. But I appreciate that, and I also has posted some pictures on my Facebook. I got a chance to meet, like I said, people from South Carolina, from Tennessee. I ran into a dad and son who own their barbershop in Washington, D.C., Sproul Barbershop. And so they have two locations. The son runs one and the father runs the other. So it was just really good networking, I would say. And I told them, next time I come to Washington, D.C., I'm going to look y'all up. And they started laughing and said, yeah, make sure you look us up and stop by. So now let's get into the segment of Say What. We only have a few minutes left. And so my Say What, besides all the stuff you heard, all of that really wasn't Say What, that corporal punishment, the child well-being index, and what's going on that happened in DeKalb County. That was a Say What. And also, what's looking to happen in the November elections about some of the things that are happening. And of course, you all are inundated with all of these commercials about voting for this person, that person. So we'll talk about that in October in our next segment. But my Say What is my family, we did an African ancestry DNA test on my dad, and we done a Matry clan and a Patrick clan. So Matry clan is the maternal side of my dad, which would have been the Dodsons, and on my dad's dad, which of course is Stovall. And so we got the results back. I'm not going to tell you what they are because we're actually going to do a Stovall family reveal party where we're going to reveal who our African ancestors were, exactly what tribe they came from. And actually, they're from two different tribes. And I'm so excited about it. I can't wait till the reveal part so I can reveal it to y'all, but I can't tell you nothing now. But along with that, so that's my Say What is, many times as African Americans, and I have quite a few African friends, and we discuss this all the time, that we're the only race that cannot directly connect our lineage to Africa. We know we're from Africa, but being able to drill it down to the tribe, then drill it down to the particular area, because you might have a tribe, that tribe may span across 7 different states in that one country. So being able to drill it down, to me, it's exciting to be able to even just find out the tribe. But many of us are lost. So, we have certain features that we have, and we're wondering, where do these specific features come from all these years? And then when you're thinking about the journey that your ancestor actually took coming through the transatlantic slave trade that happened. Now, even talk, when we start talking about that, and you just imagining, wow, that one person, starting with the dad and the mom, they came together, had children, and then they had children, then they had children, all the way down to where we are now. What all could have taken place during that whole span of history? So I love history. So just imagining that, and I just, like I said, I can't wait till we have our reveal party, and I'm gonna let y'all know about it. I think I'm gonna do a Facebook Live when we do the reveal party, but that's important. And that's important also for our young people, especially those those that are American descendants of African slaves. That is very important to know who we are, and that we came from a great people. But a lot of times we can't tell physically. It's nothing that we can be able to say, oh, I'm from there. My bloodline says I'm from there. So y'all look forward to hearing that. Also, I want to give a special congratulations to a dear friend of mine, Emmanuel Adeyemo. He was actually installed, and I'm gonna hold this up on the board. Hope y'all can see it. He was installed as a high chief and as Oboye, Papalanto, and Ishafin, which are located in Ogun State, Nigeria. So just listening to his whole feedback from when he went home and then came back, you know, I have 1,000 questions, and I'm actually going to invite him to come on as a guest to talk about, you know, his journey here in America, and then him having to go back home. He's still back here, but having to go back home to answer the call of being a high chief, the second person in charge in that particular area that he's from. So that's wow. I mean, it's just wow. And being able to ask all my questions. I have 1,000 questions. Y'all know that. So, of course, the time has caught us. Yes. This will not be our last show. Okay. Of course, this is our first show of the second half of season 7. Don't fret, you know, we're going to be back October the 3rd on Monday. You know, we're here the first and third Mondays, but we only have one show, I think, in October. Let me make sure. No, we have 2 shows, October the 3rd, the 17th, and then one show in November and one show in December. So we got a lot to talk about, y'all. So the goal of Issues and Answers with yours truly, Honorable Stovall, is to educate you on those things you might not think about unless you are in a situation to be concerned. So if you have any show ideas that you would like to see, or people that you say, hey, Melissa, I would like for you to interview this person, definitely send me an email to contact@gostovall.com, and we will see about getting them on the show. We're excited about the upcoming season, as far as with the, of course, elections coming up, but not just the elections, it's everything in general that's happening in our world. Inflation, you know, we still have the war that's going on between Ukraine and Russia. Now, of course, we like to give condolences to Queen Elizabeth II and her family, and how that has kind of has shaken up the government there. So we'll talk about that at the next our next episode, because, you know, not knowing, some people don't realize Great Britain, or Britain, the UK, actually oversees a lot of different countries, and has an input in the finances of those countries. And so when you talk about inflation and global economy and foreign exchange, all of that means something important. And so the more that we understand about how that works, then the better we'll be able to understand. Like, while we get ready to go, it's 5 o'clock now, but just think about BP. Nobody ever thought of what BP stands for, the gas station, British Petroleum. So that's something to think about as we get ready for our next episode. But thank you all so very much. Thank you, WCEG and Penny Rogers, for your vision for WCEG. And y'all make sure y'all check out some of our other co-hosts on WCEG Network. They're doing an outstanding job and bringing some very good topics up for discussion. All right, till the next time, you all be safe. Thank you.